Hello, hello, it's Kevin here. Video time again. I would have done one a little sooner, earlier, but it's been a busy week. And also, there's been some construction work in the building where my office is. So, people with drills and hammers making noise all hours of the day. Not very conducive to video. Anyway, they're not here now. It's 7 o'clock. The workmen haven't come round yet. I'm expecting them in half an hour, so I'll try and get this video made before the workmen come and start clattering and banging and drilling and disturbing. Anyway, so this is from IELTS number 4, right? Cambridge IELTS 4, as you can see here. So, as you may or may not know, we started at Cambridge 18, 17, 16, 15, blah, 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 blah. We're now at Cambridge previous papers, IELTS 4. We're going to do every academic task, okay? And we're now on 4. This is test number 1, I think, from IELTS 4. So this is one about categories of family living in poverty in Australia. You can see we've got all households, couple of children, sole parents, etc., and figures and data. Okay. Quickly, before we go on, disclaimer, okay? Fair use, copyright, so don't complain. Well, complain, but it's perfectly fair for me to use it, okay? Anyway, now, I wrote a sample, and we'll take a look at mine first. I'll explain it, and I've got a few from my Telegram group, IELTS 9 Pro, to look at, and some things to comment on there. So, like I said, or say every week, every time, introduction, easy. You paraphrase that. Information, proportion, 6 types of family. Okay. Overview. Now, this is an interesting one. As we can see, where are we? Right. So, single people more likely to be living in poverty than couples. Okay. And people with children are more likely to be poor than those without. But elderly people, rates of poverty are lower. Okay, so in this one we're going to be comparing single people with couples, children, and those without. Because if we look at the table, these are the obvious comparisons. This one's a little tricky because, you know, there's no immediately obvious key features. It does take a bit of interpretation, but that's what we're going to be doing to get to the bottom of this one. Now, it's only 165 words because there's not a lot to say, but you must include the figures and data, right? As I say every time. Quite a few people in this particular response have not. So we've got introduction, overview. Okay, now starting with the most obvious feature. In 1999, 11% were living in poverty. Okay, so that's all households. Okay, breaking this down, just over 1/5 of single parents were poor, compared to only 12% of couples with children. Okay, this pattern is also true of childless households. 90% of single people, where the figure for couples was only 7%. And then, the last piece, however, the elderly, lowest levels with 6 and 4% for singles and couples, respectively. So, I've covered every single group, and it's only 165 words. Okay? So, relatively straightforward. Now, I've got a few to have a look at here. I've got 5. 164 words, okay. Now you need to be careful with paraphrasing. I mentioned this in the previous video. People were trying to think of synonyms. I can't remember what it was exactly we were talking about, but this one here, we need to be very careful. So, a struggle with poverty. Well, do you struggle? I mean, I suppose you can do, but it doesn't necessarily say that. Then, so we've got the introduction, and the overview is basically the same. But if you look at the overview here, it doesn't really clearly identify the key features as such. And when we go into the figures, it's obvious that a quarter of statistics, what statistics? Now, right, also, as I say every week, I haven't corrected and changed every single thing. I haven't rewritten all of the responses, all right? Quarter of statistics, which is what? Belongs to people whom never have married. You mean they are single. 90% of poor people are couples. 1/10 of all categories is composed of aged people. A little bit more than 1/5. What does that even mean? I'm not even going to try and work it out. 1/5 relates to the sole purpose it consists of most proportion. What does that mean? And here, with considering the numbers more precisely, so like, well, you haven't considered any numbers yet. So I'm not really sure what you actually mean there. Second place refers to, so there's virtually no information, there's virtually no figures here, there's no data. I mean, if you look at mine, right, look, 12%, 19%, 107,000, 7%, blah, 6 and 4%, yeah? So I've used the percentage. I haven't put every single thing like 54,000, you could do that, but that would make it a little bit wordy. But in this one here, there's no figures or data, really. What's this next one? Okay. Now, so in comparison with whom or what were struggling more with poor conditions. So again, we've got people trying to paraphrase all the time. So we've got faced with deprivation. Well, that's not necessarily the same as poverty. It can be, but it's not necessarily so. So you've got struggling with poor conditions, deprivation. You don't have to change every single word. It's like I say here, too many attempts to paraphrase. Of this community was dealing with hardship. Okay. Now, this one's better. Oh, right, hang on. Needed more money to live. Don't we all? Don't we all? Bad conditions of living. So, in terms of figures and data, okay, that's good. But all these bad conditions of living, needed more money to live. I need more. Don't we all? So just be careful there. Okay. Now, 145 words. So this is under length in any case. Articles, 6 types of households. That's a bit short for an overview. The whole thing, really. It's just a little bit short. There's not a lot there. You could certainly flesh this out and put a bit more figures in and data, expand it. Let me see, we've got a couple more here. Poor conditions, again, not necessarily the same. It can be. 6 times the family, 11%. Okay, but there's no comparisons with, the elderly are least poor. If you're single, you're poor. If you're a couple, you're not poor. All those kind of things, yeah. So I would maybe change the overview a little bit. Family times, 3 categories more household average, so we're going to 12% respectively, 12 million %, 1 million of poverty. Okay, so this is just a list, really, yeah. It's not directly comparing. It's not making comparisons in the same way that I did here. Don't forget, all these writing tasks do say write 150 words, blah blah blah. Make comparisons where relevant. So I would certainly try and make comparisons if you want to get a higher score. And I think that's it. This is the final one. 164 words. Okay, now I highlighted this phrase, right? Some people was highest amount of impoverishment in their life. Well, maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but the lowest proportion of poor living condition was allocated to age couple 1. Okay, so you can see I'm not very, very clear about what this actually refers to here. Information in more detail. Impoverished, that's good. Impoverished, basic necessities. Again, not necessarily the same as poverty. Aged couple family. So this isn't too bad, but it's just you need to be careful about how you phrase things and paraphrase. Okay, so not too bad, but then again, not too good either. I'll just put my sample on the screen for last time so you can have a peep. Okay, so don't forget comparisons. We need to make comparisons. Okay, so I hope that helps. I'm gonna find Cambridge for test 2 and post that in Telegram. If you're watching on YouTube, links below, and see you next time. Hope that helps.